Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. As I said previously, I wanted to switch up the content just by a little bit and get into another interest of mine. And of course, what I wanted to talk about was video games. It was my first ever video game review. And the game I will be talking about in today's video is Star Wars Outlaws. Most people may or may not know, but I actually do like Star Wars. I actually like Star Wars a lot. It's been a fat minute since I've done anything Star Wars related or watched anything Star Wars related. I have not seen season 3 of The Mandalorian. I have not seen the Ahsoka TV show. I have not seen The Acolyte, which, from what I'm hearing, that might be a good call. For those that do not know, Star Wars Outlaws is an open world Star Wars game, which is probably the reason to why I bought it in the first place, because it's open world. I mean, the idea of an open world Star Wars game, I mean, this should have been one of the first things ever dropped in the beginning. Only now getting an open world Star Wars game is insane. But I'm not mad about that. So it was not too long ago that I beat the game, and I've been wanting to talk about it. And overall, it was an experience, but there were definitely some things about that game that will definitely bring down the score for this game. I will definitely start with the pros at least. Like I said, it's open world. We get to travel to classic areas like Tatooine and other areas. I think the overall story was pretty solid. And for those that don't know what it's about this Han Solo like character. That's kind of the best way to describe her. Kay Vess, who is about to hit like a big score, but of course she needs a crew to pull that off. So she rallies up a few interesting characters and they set off for a big score. And along the story, we get to learn about Kay's past, how she came to be, the whereabouts of her mother, which I think pays off so at the end. Like overall, I thought it was a decent. The graphics are okay, at least that I've noticed, because mine was perfectly solid. There was really not much wrong with it, but you know, I think the overall pacing of the game is also pretty fair. It took me about like a good amount of time to finish the game. So the pacing was very solid, but you know what really wasn't? The combat system. I mean, overall you can punch. I mean, this isn't like uh Spider-Man or whatever. You know, in the game Kay relies more on her weapons, which is like just one teeny little blaster. I don't even really remember the other blasters because they were there, but they didn't play that vital of a role to me. At times you do get a new weapon, it usually is temporary, which blows. And I think in terms of combat, there really was a lack of it. So that brings me to my next point. If you're not shooting aimlessly like a freaking stormtrooper, the other thing that really irked me was the fact that it's one big stealth game. That's basically what the game relies heavily on. And I don't know if I'm the first person to say this, but I freaking hate stealth missions in games. I personally will be the first to say that because I can't stand those things. So having multiple missions that require you to be very stealth, I just said screw that and I just started shooting because that's just not my MO. Like that was definitely one of the things that I noticed about that game that just after a certain point in time, you're just like anything else. No? Cool. However, if there's one scene in the game that I thought was really cool, it does feature a certain, baddie. I mean bad guy, not like anyways. But I thought that scene was actually pretty freaking sweet. Sadly, that's just one thing about the game that was actually worth it. No. But sadly, that one scene does not make up for the rest of the game. But we are talking about an open world Star Wars game. So how's the rest of the open world? Like I said, you get to travel to different planets, different, iconic locations. And then aside from that, all the side stuff, I don't remember much of it because, like I said, there really wasn't much that interesting about it. But what I have played was fairly decent, and I probably only did it to, level up or get certain items. But other than that, I really didn't pay attention to the side missions much. I may go back for it eventually, but just not anytime soon. And the fact that they were already talking about making a sequel to the game gave me shivers. But apparently it got canceled because low sales. Apparently it was low sales, which I'm not surprised about because what we got really was just a snooze fest. It really was, no offense, one of the most boring games I've ever played in my life. And I'm honestly just kind of glad to be done with it. And I don't even think all those DLCs that they're adding to the game is going to convince me to come back because I don't really want to. So, truthfully, taking everything I said, I feel like the game could have easily been better, but even when it originally launched, there were definitely like a lot of bugs. So, yeah. I mean, shoot, when Cyberpunk first came out, that game had a lot of bugs. But now it went on to be a really good game. I mean, years later, it's still getting the love that it deserves. We got the sequel, which is Phantom Liberty, and then they just added the game to the Nintendo Switch 2 alongside Star Wars Outlaws, sadly. But the difference between Cyberpunk and Star Wars Outlaws is that Cyberpunk was actually a really enjoyable game, and Star Wars Outlaws was just. So the question is, what is my overall rating of Star Wars Outlaws? I give it a 5. A solid 5. The idea of an open world game from Star Wars, it sounded like it should have been done a long time ago. But what we got was just just very mid. You know what I'm saying? It was very so. I think overall I just had a very okay experience with the game personally. There wasn't much about it that I cared enough about. But overall, I guess I'm just glad to be done with it because that basically means I get to go on to the next game that I play, you know? I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about the game? Was it good in your opinion? Was it bad? Personally, I would like to know, like, is there anything they could have done differently so that the game would be a little better? Because truth be told, I feel like that game really had a lot of potential and then it just went south. And that personally sucks because I like Star Wars, I like games, and overall, it had the potential, it just didn't live up to it. It really was a bummer to see. But yeah, I guess that's like my rant about Star Wars Outlaws. Or my review. I'm sorry, it's a review. Let me know what y'all think of this style of video. Should I do another game review? Because I can really talk about games as much as cartoons and skateboarding all day. So let me know what y'all think. Truthfully, I would like to do more of these videos because there's sometimes are just days I can't really go outside to go skate or just do anything. Like if it wasn't for skating, I really would be more of a homebody, but that's just me. But if y'all did enjoy this, let me know. If y'all did enjoy this, give it a thumbs up. If you have played this game, let me know in the comments what you thought it was. And if you really want to, help this channel out, a certain subscribe button is definitely in order. But yeah, I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Peace. 2 a.m. in Atlanta, screaming, baby, I'm back. Play me like a fool.